Formal logic is basically the art of thinking with precision. It doesn't care what you're talking about, only whether your reasoning follows correctly. Think of it as the grammar for thought. There are a few key concepts that you must understand that make up logic. Number one, propositions. A proposition is a statement that can only be true or false. If it can't be true or false, it is not a proposition. Examples could be, it is raining, or 2 is an even numbers. Number 2, logical operators. Think of logical operators as the tools that combine propositions. These guys have specific symbols that mean different things, so be extra careful. And finally, number 3, truth tables. This one is pretty straightforward. They show that the truth of a statement depends on its parts. Here's the truth table for an and statement. So, how does this work? Pretend that the letters are propositions, as we learned. Now, this is an and truth table, which means that the result only comes out as true when both P and Q are true. We see that if P or Q is wrong, then the result comes out as false. We also see that if both propositions are wrong, then the result is false also. This might still seem pretty confusing, so let's use sentences instead of letters. First row, P is true, Q is true. It is raining and I have an umbrella. Both conditions are happening. This means it's true. Next row, P is true, Q is false. It is raining and I do not have an umbrella. One thing is true, one isn't. The result is false. Since the next row is basically the same, we move on to the last row. P is false, Q is false. It is not raining and I do not have an umbrella. Nothing is true. The result is false. Number 1, validity. An argument is valid if the conclusion must be true when the premises are true. Bear in mind, however, not all valid arguments are factually true, which brings us to our next point. Number 2, soundness. The validity of an argument is based purely off of structure, whereas soundness concerns itself on validity. And whether the premises are factually true, soundness equals valid plus true premises. Number 3, inference rules. Inference rules are kind of like APIs that you can apply and use to other settings to get a sound or valid conclusion. They are the legal moves of logic. The most famous ones are the modus ponens and the modus tollens. We'll start with our first premise, which is if it rains, the ground gets wet, our if P then Q. Then we'll have our second premise, it is raining, this is our P. And finally, we'll have our conclusion. Therefore, the ground is wet. This is a classic modus ponens structure. You've probably heard this being tossed around by debaters and masturbators alike. It's similar to the inference rules, but is when there are invalid reasoning patterns, meaning they feel persuasive but collapse under formal logic. Common logical fallacies include affirming the consequent, denying the antecedent, straw man. Formal logic is simply the discipline of making your thinking airtight, stripping away confusion so only valid reasoning remains. Once you understand propositions, operators, truth tables, and inference rules, you gain a toolkit that lets you spot errors, build strong arguments, and think with clarity in any situation.